It's in Illinois, right?
Yeah, nope, wrong one. That's where everybody always thinks it is. Here, Tim, you probably have it.
What is it? Okay, here we are, session 4. I assume we have 11 people. Somebody do a head count.
3, 6, 9, 11.
Hot dog.
10, 11. Yep, all 11.
Okay, first I'll start by apologizing. I said the other day that I'd email you something. Well, I would have had I got my email at work. You know, we switched over here to webmail and I'm having a little trouble, so I think I've got it worked out now though, so I should be able to get you stuff quickly again now. Also, I have this thumb drive here for those of you who wanted those examples of behavioral objectives we did the other day. That, and I have the service plan on this thumb drive as well if you want to take it now or anybody want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll start over here.
Is the service plan the one that's in chapter 4?
It is.
Oh.
So the things you got on the thumb drive are the handout from Tuesday and the service plan for
That's all.
chapter 4.
Mhm. If you are, I mean, unless you're visually impaired, you probably don't need this.
But if you want an electronic copy, that'd be easier, right, Fred?
Yeah, I could very simply email you what I have,
Could you
electronic
please?
version.
Caitlin, do you want
But
the
you've
thumb
got an
drive? I'm
electronic
sorry,
version of
I
the
did
service
not
plan
start.
too, if you have the
Do you want
book.
his thumb drive to?
No.
I want it.
Hey, honey, will
He's
you
right in
email
front
it
of
to
you.
me once
I
you?
want it.
There you go.
Yes, I will, sweetie.
I know I'm gonna get in trouble for that later.
Aww.
Was she talking to you?
I was wondering what
She was aiming it right at
I
me.
know.
Well, I do feel like we have a very close relationship.
Yeah, really.
It's under a folder called Prink, as in principles. Okay, let me go back and start this. Let me give you a little introduction about this behavioral objective part we're doing here. Hello?
Yep.
Let me go back and do what I should have done to begin with. I sort of turned this around this time. It's always awkward. I'll tell you why later, but for now, I'm just going to give you a little background here. Wrong. Am I not plugged in? No. You seen these AirDrive headsets? They don't plug up your ear. They just hang a little speaker in front of your ear.
Oh, that's
No,
cool.
I haven't.
I'll show it to you after.
Oh, great, new toy.
Well, they're not very expensive. That's what they give you if you buy a GPS from Sendero now. Anyway, here we go. First off, the teaching sequence. I mentioned it the last time, but you know, if you're any kind of a teacher, just in general, I mean, you should be thinking about there's kind of 4 steps in any teaching process, and that is, first you do an assessment, you figure out where the person is, what the person knows, and where you should start your lesson. If you're teaching A through Z and the person knows K, and you're wasting your time if you start at A, and you're not getting it across if you start at W, if the person is at K. So obviously, you have to figure that out. And the second thing is then, once you've done that, then you have to write some sort of a plan on how you're going to teach K through Z. Or in the bigger scheme of things, well, never mind. So you write a plan, and then thirdly you teach it, and then lastly you evaluate the teaching learning to see if what you thought you taught really was learned. And if it wasn't, then you reteach. So it's evaluate, teach. Simple. This stuff that we're doing with behavioral objectives falls in the second part, really. of planning. Because when you're writing a lesson plan then obviously you need behavioral objectives to figure out what it is you're going to teach the person and what it is you expect them to learn. Also, if you're going to, well, never mind, get that one too. So, it's nothing but then assess, plan, teach, evaluate. Next Tuesday, we start assessment. And just to put this into context, there's three parts of an assessment. What I call personal adjustment assessment. Your assessment of a person as a teacher. Not the assessment that they do to figure out what kind of a program the person's going to get in a VR setting, but once they reach you as personal adjustment training instructor, there. So when they show up at your door or you show up at theirs, there's 3 steps to this assessment process. One is, before they show up, you're going to get a look at the case files and their history, which is a paper or electronic look at where people's been. It has some strengths and it has lots of weaknesses, and we'll talk specifically about it next time. But in essence, Tuesday, that's when we're starting assessment. So, but here, the first thing you get is some kind of paperwork or electronic files that tell you where this person's been historically in terms of education, in terms of rehab, in terms of eye disease and treatment, etc. Then you sit down with this person and do some kind of an interview. In order to do that interview, that interview is really nothing more than you sitting down and finding out from this person what they used to do in a particular skill area, what they presently do in that skill area, subtract one from the other one, and write a plan to meet the need. That makes sense? So you go in and a person says, reading, for example. They go in and you say, okay, did you read much in the past? They'll say, yeah. And then you'll say, well, can you describe a little bit for me, like what kinds of things you've read? And they'll say, well, I probably read 2 novels a week. I really like reading. Maybe they'll say more. But then you're going to say, well, what about now? And they may say, oh God, I don't do anything. It kills me. It's the worst thing that's ever happened about this vision loss. I can't read a thing. Well, then obviously, you've got right away, you know that you've got to come up with some way to help this person read. It may relate to low vision, and it may relate to listening and recording devices. But that isn't going to, you've just assessed that the person has lost this reading pleasure that they used to have.
Okay, I have a question. When you say, okay, what they did minus what they do, okay, I get that. What, are there particular areas?
Yeah, there are. That's what this service plan's about.
Okay.
Paul, do you take into account their mental, like I'm thinking about clients who come into the low
No, I
vision.
don't want to talk about that.
Okay, but if they say they don't
I
want to
don't
learn
want
how
to
to
talk about
read.
anything like that. I just
Okay.
want to give you the process.
Okay, sorry.
Tuesday is when we'll talk about that.
Okay.
It's important. All I want you to do is get this in your head, why I'm giving you this service plan. Okay, so you've compared the past to the present. Now, in order to do that though, here you are, many of you have never been around blindness and low vision ever. So how in God's name are you going to sit down and figure out what these people need? Some of you have had some experience but you certainly haven't been through every single possible thing that this person might need or might have lost and needs to regain. In order to do that, then this service plan has to be in your head or in front of you somewhere when you're doing this interview. It's as simple as that. And that's why I'm starting out sticking this behavioral objective thing in before, cart before the horse in essence. But it's only because you need to be able to read a service plan, and it's all made up of different levels of behavioral objectives.
Okay, you lost me for a second. You said when you do the interview.
Sorry, the thing was talking. Say it again.
You said when you do the interview, you have the service plan in front of you.
Yeah,
But
in
I
your
thought we
head.
were in the process of, okay, these are, what you're doing now are the 3 steps of the assessment, right?
No, you're doing the second step, the interview.
Is the second step, right? But you
I'm
said
tell-
you
I'm
have the
telling
service
you
plan.
can't do
in
an
front.
interview unless you know every skill that you have to offer. How can you do an interview of somebody's computer needs if you don't know that there's a JAWS or that there's a screen magnifiers or if there's this or that or the other thing?
Okay.
See what I mean?
Yep.
Now, you're gonna get classes in every one of these skill areas in one place or another, and you learn that, but you don't need to know it. You just need a list of them here, and that's what this service plan is. It's a list of the kinds of things that you can teach. Now, when you read them here, you may go, oh my God, I don't know that well. I don't expect you to know it. Some of you will, some won't. Doesn't matter. As long as you know what the words mean in these objectives, then you can ask the questions. Okay. The third level of assessment is an observation. So you get case files in one form or another, you get the histories of where people have been. You then sit down and assess them to get their idea of kind of what they want, to get acquainted with them, and also though, primarily though, to figure out what they used to do and what they do now, and then figure out what the difference is. And you go and you try to get them back to the skill levels they were at. That's why we got all this reading, writing, and arithmetic in this ADL section, this service plan. Okay, now, get your books out and turn to this service plan. Where it is, we have to.
Page 57.
Mine's electronic, so I don't know what page it's on.
Darren, I have one more question.
Sure.
Okay, you said step 1 was viewing the files, where their
Step
eye
1 was
condition, viewing the files,
Mhm.
their eye condition, yada yada yada. Okay, 2 is the
Which we're
interview.
gonna go over in great detail on Tuesday.
Right. Okay, 2 is the interview, and then you said 3 is observation, where we're
That
viewing the
means,
file.
that means after you've interviewed this person, you're gonna set them up in some situations, say in a kitchen,
Oh,
and you're gonna see you're gonna see if what they told you is true.
okay.
Mostly, 99% of it is true, by the way. You can almost always write a plan right after you've done the assessment. I mean, it's a very rare case when somebody just out and out lies to you. Once in a while, somebody will have a misperception about what they can do and can't do. But you need some reality here. You can't just go on people's perception of their own ability and need. Because you gotta remember, 90% of these folks coming to you think they can't do anything anymore. That's what you have to keep in mind. When I myself was at this stage, I first lost my vision. I'm laying in a hospital, and nurses are feeding me with a spoon. I'm thinking I can't even do that. And so when you're talking about in the very beginning here, people go through these stages that you're going to learn about in 5880. And one of the very most common ones is this stage that I call the I can't stage. And almost everybody goes through it one time or another after losing vision. So the belief inside is that you're done for, and obviously it's your job to show them that that's just a lot of BS. Okay, so the service plan, it has 4 levels of headings. There's 2 great big main headings on it, which is gonna be hard for anybody who's doing it electronically, but those of you can see what are the 2 main headings on it. So the first, level 1 headings, I'll call them.
Communication
Level 1 heading, of
skills.
course, is service plan, but then there's 2 major center headings.
Communication skills,
Communication skills and way down the way,
daily living skills.
daily living skills. So you're gonna first ask this person questions about communications areas, then you're gonna ask the person about daily living things. And again, bear with me on assessment because I'm gonna drill the assessment into you and I'm gonna give you 6 questions to ask about every single area here. Because second level headings then are something that I'd call them, well, they're the skill areas, let's just call them that. They're the skill areas. So under communications, you've got skill areas such as Braille, handwriting, listening and recording devices, etc. And lots more. And under activities of daily living, well, what do you see? Well, somebody just read all the headings under communication.
I'll go ahead and do that. Communication has low vision, Braille and other tactile systems, handwriting, typewriting and keyboarding, computer technology, listening and recording devices, and mathematics.
All right, and ADL?
Daily living skills has orientation and movement in the home, kitchen skills, personal management, home management, home mechanics, and leisure time activities.
All right. So those are the areas. That's second level. Third level headings are subdivisions of these areas, or what really are kind of goals. For example, under Braille, there's 3. What are they? Somebody else?
Would it be grade 1, grade 2, and mathematical?
That's right. No, not, there's 4 then. Is math under there? I don't remember. I don't think so. There's 3. There's reading grade 1 Braille. There's reading grade 2 Braille. And there's writing Braille. Embossing, I think I called it.
There's the 4th one.
And it's, what is it?
At the completion of the alphabet, the learner will read and write it
No.
at a level that can meet their needs.
No, that's not a goal. I mean, that's just another, that's not that heading. That's a 4th
that's-
level heading.
Oh, that's in the same, in
Yeah.
the same area.
It is. That's under grade 2. So, look at something else. Look at handwriting. There's 1, 2, 3 there.
Sorry, did we finish with the 4 in Braille?
There's only 3.
There's only 2?
3.
They're
Oh, 3.
actually, just so I can clarify,
We're gonna go over these in detail. I'm just giving you how it works.
okay, the only thing I wanted to say, just in case we're mistaken, is under this particular edition of your book, Braille is number 2 of the level 1 heading. A is
They're
completion
really
of Braille
level 2.
1.
They're level 2 headings. Communication is level 1.
Okay, I see. Anyway, there's an A, B, C, and D. And
What's
D
D?
actually reads at the completion of the Fishburne alphabet.
That's not what you read. You
Oh,
didn't say
okay.
Fishburne alphabet.
Okay.
You said at the.
Oh, at the completion of
you-
the-
Alphabet, you said. I thought
Okay.
you were reading.
No, sorry.
Okay, Fishburne alphabet is no longer usable. It's one of the reasons we're gonna do your little you're gonna do your little exercise in rewriting this service plan. Yeah, there is something called the Fishburne alphabet that was used till just the last 2 or 3 years.
So it's null and void now.
Yeah, they don't make it.
What is it?
I don't care, later. It's kaput.
Basically, we can cross
It's another
that part off.
tactile system though. It was put together for elderly people who don't have the tactile ability to read around.
So we can cross that off.
Not yet. That's your job. Okay, so there are 4 right now. So look at handwriting. There should be 3.
Yep.
What are they? Read the whole statement, the whole behavioral objective of each of the 3.
Upon completion of the handwriting training unit.
Read it louder. You've got people listening on TV land.
Upon completion of the handwriting training unit for those who have congenital visual impairments.
Congenital, right?
Congenital, yes,
Uh-huh.
congenital visual impairments. The learner will write words that are legible to a degree sufficient to meet his or her daily needs.
All right, so we're talking about handwriting for someone who what?
For their daily needs. For
Who what? Someone who what?
He has a congenital
Has a
visual.
congenital visual impairment. And goal number 2?
Upon completion of the script writing training unit for those with adventitious
Yeah, that word
impairments.
should now read acquired. That's an old-fashioned word. Adventitious.
Okay, unit for those with acquired impairments. Learner will use handwriting devices at a level sufficient to meet his or her daily needs.
Okay, so what's the difference between 1 and 2?
One they were born with, one was
All
one they
right,
acquired.
that's right. So, and then 3?
3 says, upon completion of the raised line drawing board training unit, the learner will use a raised line drawing board to read and produce graphic representations to a level sufficient to meet his or her graphic needs.
That's right. So things like making graphs and photos and whatever, raised line drawings and reading raised line drawings. Now, I said their goals. Let's say, and the reason I said their goals is this. If somebody comes in and then this person is 68, losing vision with macular degeneration, which area are you going to go to right away? 1 or 2? A pretty weak 2.
Yeah, because they weren't born with it, with the unexposition.
That's right. You're gonna completely skip 1. This woman's been handwriting for 60-something years, right? So the difference between, I want you to look at the goal. Look at the next level of the lesson. So, excuse me. The 4th level objectives on this thing are lesson objectives. That means that basically each one of these things could be pulled out of there and put at the top of a lesson plan. And then you write a lesson plan for it. For example, please read the level 4, we'll just call them the lesson objectives under number 1. Somebody over here, you guys are asleep.
On completion of the informal typing training unit,
Typing?
the learner will type.
Typing? Wait.
Yeah, 4 is typewriting and keyboard.
Typewriting and keyboarding is
Wait. We're talking about handwriting here.
There's
You're in the
only
wrong
3.
place. Handwriting.
She just read the handwriting ones.
I want you to read, there are 4 levels of headings.
There's only 3.
Listen,
Okay.
there's 4 levels of headings on this form. Communication, the first level is communication, ADL. There you go. Under communication, there are areas, second level. Braille, handwriting, blah, blah, blah. Under each one of these is a 3rd level. Like handwriting has 3. Writing for people who have congenital losses, writing for people who have acquired losses, and using raised line drawing boards. That's the 3rd one. I just said to you, there is now a 4th level. Under each of those 3 which will tell you why you need the subdivisions under handwriting. So what I wanted you to read is all the so-called lesson objectives under goal 1, goal 2, and goal 3 under handwriting. Got it?
Yep.
Now I get it, okay. So under, which one did you want me to read?
First one.
Okay. When presented with the letters in his or her name, the learner will identify them with 90% accuracy.
Okay, does that make any sense for the woman who's 68 years old? What did it say? You're going to teach her the shape of the letters in her what name?
Her own name.
Yeah. Okay, does that make any sense? Would you do that to me? If I was 30 years old and I lost my vision?
No.
Do I need to learn the shapes of letters if I've been writing them for 50 years?
No.
That's my point. So the things under this have no connection whatsoever to the 60-year-old woman. Read the second one.
When presented with the letters of his or her last name and shown how they are connected, the learner will write them until 90% are legible.
All right, so what you're getting here is how handwriting is taught to people who have early loss. Some will come to you with no signature even when they're 25 years old. Most people will come with a signature, but many won't. So, first thing you teach them is which part of their name to write. You teach them what the letter shapes are. Then you teach the last name. Why would you do that? Why would you teach last name and then the first name? What's a legal signature? Last name and an initial, right? So now read the first few under the second goal for people with acquired or adventitious laws.
When presented with the more rigid and structured writing guides, the learner will write 90% of his or her words legibly.
Okay, so all that says is that I'm going to take a handwriting guide, and by rigid it means the lines don't give. You know what a handwriting guide is? Anybody doesn't?
Actually, if you can describe it, I've never seen
All it is, there's a whole bunches of different kinds. All it does is have cut out lines or something so that I can stay within them when I'm handwriting. There's whole kinds of versions of it. The ones that are called rigid don't allow any up and down give. They got absolute hard up and down borders, and that's what you teach first because everyone doesn't have the confidence to use the kind. There's a kind that uses like elastic bands, and they don't keep you in the line as well. Why would you need elastic bands?
You're going above and below the line.
Tails, right?
Like Y's and G's.
Yeah, tails of letter. So you usually start people with the hard one just to give them confidence that they can still do it. Then you move off to things that are more functional. And that's what you'll find here, just a list of kinds. Now, would that make any sense? If somebody came in who had a congenital loss who didn't have a signature, would it make any sense to throw a handwriting guide in front of them?
No.
Okay, so that's why you have goals under the major heading. Got it?
Yep.
And really, to tell you the truth, when you're interviewing someone, it's those goals that you're really working at. It's when you're questioning folks in an interview, you don't need to go through every single one of these lesson objectives. What you really need is to look at these goals and figure out, what do you need. So, for example, if you ask this question that said, okay, this woman who's 68 and lost her vision, you say, first off, you'd never ask her had she used handwriting before. It's kind of a given. So you simply say, have you tried to use your signature or any other kind of handwriting since your vision loss? If they say no, then right away, you got to do something. And you're gonna find out though, if they say yes, you've gotta pin it down to how well did it work out. That's when you figure out. I'm getting ahead of you though. In essence, you're looking at these goals to figure out when you're doing this interview. Okay,